Hello everyone, how are you all doing? If you would have asked me a few years back what is the best way to manage users and groups in AWS, I would have told without any thoughts AWS IAM. But today, AWS recommends IAM Identity Center more than AWS IAM. In this discussion, we will enable IAM Identity Center, do some basic setup, and will explore the IAM Identity Center dashboard. And in further sessions, we will explore more by creating users, groups, permission sets, and we will also see how to log into the AWS Management Console from the AWS Access Portal using SSO. So, what is this SSO? SSO or single sign-on is a user authentication process that allows a user to access multiple applications or systems with one set of login credentials. This means that after logging in once, the user can access other AWS accounts and apps without needing to log in again for each system. This simplifies the user experience and enhances security by reducing the number of passwords a user must remember and maintain. Hope you can relate to that. Before we proceed, I am Hartin Jacob Kanagatotu. I am an author, architect, and tech evangelist. You can learn more about me or even connect with me at linkedin.com/in/Hartin. I have logged into my AWS account as a root user. I am just using it for the initial set of configurations. And then we will be experimenting with many services and features within AWS using an IAM or IAM Identity Center user. Let us search for IAM Identity Center and go to IAM Identity Center service. IAM Identity Center connect your existing identity provider and streamline workforce user access to AWS. IAM Identity Center streamlines access to AWS managed applications, providing a common view of workforce users and groups. It also provides a single place where you can manage your workforce access to multiple AWS accounts. We can even connect a Microsoft Entra ID, which was previously called as Azure AD or Azure Active Directory, to manage AWS resources with your Azure credentials and Azure users. We will see that also in a future discussion. It is also available as a recipe within my latest book, AWS Security Cookbook, about which I will talk towards the end. We can enable IAM Identity Center by clicking on Enable here. Enable IAM Identity Center. When you use AWS organizations with IAM Identity Center, you are using an organization instance of IAM Identity Center. Organization instances support all features of IAM Identity Center, including managing permissions for multiple AWS accounts in your organization and assigning access to applications. Is this the right AWS region? We recommend that you create your instance in an AWS region geographically near most of your workforce for lower latency access. I'll select Canada Central. You can click on Enable. As you can see, IAM Identity Center is enabled. We can explore the IAM Identity Center dashboard, central management, use service control policies, SCPs, to prevent instances of IAM Identity Center from being created or isolate the member accounts that are allowed to create account instances. There is a note here. IAM Identity Center allows member accounts of organization to enable AWS applications that are independent of the organization instance with self-managed account instances of IAM Identity Center. Monitor activities in your instances of IAM Identity Center. With AWS CloudTrail, you can monitor and audit activity in your organization instance and account instances of IAM Identity Center. IAM Identity Center setup. Confirm your identity source. Manage permissions for multiple AWS accounts, set up application user and group assignments, configure multi-factor authentication MFA, register a delegated administrator. Let us do these things one by one. First, click on confirm your identity source. For now, we will leave the value for identity source as identity center directory. If you go to actions, we have option to change identity source. Within the choose identity source page, we have options such as identity center directory, which we have selected now, which is also the default. We also have active directory, which is a Microsoft product which has been there for quite a long time. We also have a external identity provider. So where do you think we will connect Azure Active Directory or Microsoft Enter ID? It will be external identity provider. We will see all of those things later. But for now, let us go with the identity center directory, which is the default. We can also explore other tabs here like authentication, attributes for access control, attributes for access control. Configure this option to grant access to users based on specific characteristics. We will click on enable here. Management, we can register a delegated administrator here. When you register a member account in your organization as a delegated administrator, users in the account who have sufficient permissions will have administrative access to IAM Identity Center. They can administer other manage the permissions and application assignments. Rather than you doing only the management, you can delegate administration. For that, we can click on register account and then select an account from within your organization and click on register account. We will do that later. Let us go back to dashboard. So we have confirmed identity. We can also manage permissions for multiple AWS accounts. Click on manage permissions. It will allow us to create permission sets. Permission sets define the level of access that users in IAM Identity Center have to their assigned AWS accounts. The names of permission sets appear as available roles in AWS Access Portal. Users who are assigned to multiple AWS permission sets can sign into the AWS Access Portal, choose an account, and then choose a role that AWS created from an assigned permission set. Let us do that later. We can also set up application user and group assignments, give users and groups access to specific applications configured to work with IAM Identity Center. Click on Setup Options. Administer users and groups for AWS managed or customer managed applications that support identity federation with SAML 2.0 or Auth 2.0. We have tabs for AWS managed and customer managed applications. We will look into applications later. We can also configure multi-factor authentication. Click on configure MFA. We can configure the MFA settings, choose how often workforce users are prompted for multi-factor authentication and which types of devices they can use to sign into the AWS Access Portal. We will see Access Portal later. MFA settings, prompt users for MFA only when their sign-in context changes. Users with a registered MFA device are only prompted when their sign-in context changes. For example, they sign in from a new device or browser or from an unknown IP address. Users can remember devices when this mode is selected. You may have seen, right? Remember this browser and all, so that you don't have to do MFA again for that particular browser. We can also select every time they sign in. Users with a registered MFA device are prompted every time they sign in. We can also configure never or disabled, which means all users sign in with their standard username and password only. Choosing this option disables MFA. See, all of the other options are disabled now. We'll go with the default one, which is only when their sign-in context changes. We have few additional MFA settings as well available here to configure. Users can authenticate with these MFA types, security keys and built-in authenticators, which means users can verify their identity by using any 502 or UTF capable device such as an external physical security key, for example YubiKey or FATN devices, or a built-in authenticator, for example Apple Touch ID or Windows Hello. Authenticator apps, which means users can verify their identity by entering a code generated from a time-based one-time password authenticator app, for example OT, Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, etc. We will be mostly using Google Authenticator. If a user does not yet have a registered MFA device, what to do? Require them to register an MFA device at sign in. Require them to provide a one-time password sent by email to sign in. Block their sign in. Allow them to sign in. We will go with the default. Require them to register an MFA device at sign in. We haven't made any changes, right? So we can click on cancel. Let us go back to the dashboard. So we have checked confirm your identity source. We have checked manage permissions for multiple AWS accounts. We have checked set up application user and group assignments. We have checked configure multi-factor authentication MFA. We have one more option, register a delegated administrator. Delegate the ability to manage IAM Identity Center to a member account in your AWS organization rather than doing everything by your own. Having an additional admin to manage things, but without having access to the management account would be good. We can click on register account. Here we can select the account we want to make as delegated administrator and then click on register account. There is a note here. This operation has a security implications. This operation delegates IAM Identity Center administrative access to users in this member account. All users who have sufficient permissions to this delegated administrator account can perform all IAM Identity Center administrative tasks from the account except for deleting IAM Identity Center, registering other member accounts as delegated administrators, managing assignments to the management account, or managing permission sets provided in the management account. Let us go back to IAM Identity Center dashboard. So we have gone through all the basic setup that is available in the dashboard. In this discussion, we enabled IAM Identity Center and explored various options and setup within IAM Identity Center dashboard. In further discussions, we will look into most of these things in detail, like creating groups, users, creating permission sets, etc. Enabling IAM Identity Center is part of the recipe user management and SSO with IAM Identity Center within chapter 1 of my book AWS Security Cookbook, second edition. You can find the book in Amazon. Search my name, Hartin Kanigathotu. You can get the second edition. Second edition is black. You can read my notes on cloud at cloudrix.com. You can see the recordings of my sessions on cloud at my YouTube channel Cloudrix. If you buy my book, please feel free to connect with me over LinkedIn. Bye bye for now and see you all in next class.